Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, I'll be doing my Week 9 recap, going from Monday to Thursday. So that will include, of course, the players of the week. Also, we got injury news for Steph Curry and Clint Capela. The NBA renames 6 trophies of theirs, and a whole lot more. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, so we're covering Week 9 in the NBA. This is the 9th week, so I skipped the 8th week because it was the 100th episode, so we did a special on Brittany Griner. And then we also had an episode where we mourned the passing of Paul Silas. So we had that episode. So let us begin with Monday. And Monday, there was still outpour of those in the NBA family expressing their condolences on the passing of Paul Silas. There was one I forgot to mention, and that was from Michael Jordan, the chairman of the Charlotte Hornets, as well as he has ownership there, of course. And he released this statement. The Hornets family mourns the passing of Paul Silas. Paul was an incredible leader and motivator who served as our coach on 2 occasions. He combined the knowledge developed over nearly 40 years as a player and coach with an innate understanding of how to mix discipline with his never-ending positivity. On and off the court, Paul's enthusiastic and engaging personality was accompanied by an antidote for every occasion. He was one of the all-time great people in our game, and he will be missed. My thoughts and the thoughts of our entire organization are with his wife, Carolyn, his children, Paula and Stephen, and the entire Silas family. So that was one statement I didn't read. Wish that I did get to, but I got to it now. So, and that was a statement from Michael Jordan, which he gave on Sunday. So again, we mourn the passing of Paul Silas, player, 3-time champion, 2-time All-Star, and as well as coach, won the Coach of the Year too as well. So Paul Silas, one of the greats, passing. So all right, so with that said, let's get on to the NBA business at hand. And of course, we always start with the players of the week. And this week, a couple of big guys again. So in the West, Zion Williamson for the New Orleans Pelicans. His team went 3-0, including a defeat over Detroit and over the Suns twice. So, and with one of those went in overtime, and then the other game, Zion actually dunked it late in that game, which drew the ire of Suns players and so forth. So kind of called him out for showboating and so forth. But he chalked it up to enthusiasm because, remember, he missed all of last year. So he was just happy to get back, be in a competitive game and so forth. So it is what it is. So I wouldn't go too crazy about it, although they did. But anyway, so for the week, he's averaged 33 points, 8.3 rebounds. He shot it over 70% from the field and 70% from the free throw line. So Zion Williamson getting it done for the West leading New Orleans Pelicans. Can you believe that statement? And then the second player, Joel Embiid, with the Philadelphia 76ers, who's just continuing his torrid play. His team went 2-1. They did beat Charlotte and Los Angeles Lakers in overtime, but they lost to Houston in a double overtime. So Embiid averaged 43.3 points per game. Good gracious. Along with a little over 10 rebounds, 3.7 assists, shot at nearly 64% from the field, and nearly 89% from the free throw line. So talk about big man delivering at both the field and the charity stripe. So those are your players of the week. All right. So with that said, let's continue. There was a few fines handed out. Trae Young, he was fined $25,000 for throwing the ball into the stand after a win. So the NBA taxed him. And then Grant Williams of Boston fined $20,000 for punching the ball into the stand 2 minutes to go in a loss to Golden State. So NBA handing out fines for behavior that they deem not so good. And by the way, Grant was ejected from that game, just so you know. With that said, let's talk about the games that were played Monday. The Brooklyn Nets win 4 straight after beating Washington 112-100. KD, he scores 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Kyrie with 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 blocks. So, and then Ben Simmons, he's back now. 10 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists for him. So the Nets start to heat up a bit, it seems. So, and Washington, you're going to hear a familiar theme throughout this, them being on the losing side. I'll talk about them once I commence with everything else. So the Nets win 4 straight. Then you have the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic drops 38 points along with 11 rebounds, 8 assists as Dallas wins over Oklahoma City 121-114. And on the losing side, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's having a fantastic year, 42 points for him. Also, you got contributions for Dallas, Spencer Dinwiddie, 10 points, 20 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists. Christian Woods continues to be kind of an enigma because of them bringing him off the bench. 8 points, 5 rebounds, and looks like, and he only played 20 minutes for crying out loud. Go figure. So, nonetheless, Dallas gets the win. So, Dame Lillard scores 38 points himself in a blowout win over the Minnesota Timberwolves, 133-112. Jeremy Grant also has 24 in that game. Rudy Gobert, 16 points for him and 20 rebounds. So, Gobert dominating the boards against the Portland Trailblazers. So that's all your action for Monday. Let's move on to Tuesday. Tuesday was an interesting day. The NBA renamed six of their award trophies. So, and this is how it went down. The MVP will now be the Michael Jordan Trophy. This is a new award, Clutch Player of the Year, and that's now the Jerry West Trophy. What I want to know is, how do you assess Clutch Player of the Year? Is it the amount of buzzer beaters they get in a game? Don't quite understand that one, but what can you do? So this is the new award. Defensive Player of the Year is now the Hakeem Olajuwon Trophy. Rookie of the Year, because Olajuwon won it multiple times, Defensive Player of the Year. Rookie of the Year is now the Wilt Chamberlain Trophy, because Wilt had that fantastic rookie season for his team. Wilt Chamberlain with that award named after him. Sixth Man of the Year, John Havlicek Trophy. Everybody says that John Havlicek is pretty much invented the necessity and importance of the sixth man. So I guess aptly named. And then the Most Improved Player Award is now the George Mikan Trophy. Although George Mikan never won a Most Improved Player because the award was never around. So nonetheless, so that's the awards. So many will ask the question, why didn't the MVP award trophy be named the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Award, being that he won 6 of them himself? Well, Kareem is already on the social justice. He has a social justice award that's named after him. So, and then remember last year they named the Eastern Conference players, most valuable player in the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals, the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson Award. And then, of course, before that, Bill Russell, his name was put on the Finals MVP Award. So, here's my question. Do we really need to name these awards? I mean, really? And then what happens is, now you start getting people all in their feelings. Oh, it should be named this, it should be named that, so on and so forth. Now, I'm on social media. Now they're like, oh, name the slam dunk champion the Dominique Wilkins Award. And I'm like, if you want to get technical, you can name it the Nate Robinson Award because he won it the most times. So, is that where we want to go, guys? I mean, to me, all this award naming, I think it's the NBA doing too much. That's just me. I think they're just doing too much with that. So that's my opinion. So anyhow, so that's what came out of the NBA's front league office. So let's continue with an injury. Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. He's going to be out the rest of the season after shin surgery. So, the promising young player now down for the year. He had surgery, so forth. So he will be out for the year. So, well, now you get to see what Jaden Ivey looks like. Of course, Killian Hayes. So you get to see what these guys look like in the interim. So the young man will be back. He'll be back next season. So tough blow for Detroit, though, because you had a nice little 3-guard nucleus. Now, not so much. So they are now employing Alec Burks, who can play either guard position from his time here in New York. So we'll see what happens with Detroit. So now on to the games. It was just a few games of interest. Joel Embiid, just talked about him, Player of the Week. He continues his torrid play with 31 points, 7 rebounds, and a 123-103 win over Sacramento. So Joel Embiid on an MVP type tear once again. Then you have Giannis Antetokounmpo. He puts up 30 points with 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and a drubbing of the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, they're kind of reeling a bit here. 128 to 111. And this game was actually in Milwaukee, and what happened in this game was a fan was ejected for making threats against Draymond Green. In fact, the fan and Draymond went back and forth, and then Draymond kind of motioned to the ref to get rid of the guy. So, and supposedly it's because the guy basically said, here, little background. Remember, Draymond Green got into the fight with Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is actually from the Milwaukee area, so obviously Milwaukee fans are gonna gravitate to him, even though he's with Golden State. So, and the guy basically said, "Oh, we'll give you a pass this time." So, that's supposedly what was said, and that's what triggered Draymond to go in. It seems like it's more to it than that, but that's what they're saying. So, yeah. So that's what happens with that. So, what can you do? So, that's how that game went. And then you had a classic Boston versus LA game where Jason Tatum goes nuclear. He explodes for 44 points, along with 7 rebounds and 6 assists, as Boston wins in overtime on the road versus the Lakers, 122 to 118. In that game, Anthony Davis, 37 points, 12 rebounds, as he's playing out of his mind. LeBron with 33, 9 assists, 9 rebounds, 2 steals. Oh, and also Jaylen Brown for Boston, 25 points for him, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. And then with that, LeBron actually passes Wilt Chamberlain for second on the list of most 30-point games by a player at 516. So only one person left to pass up, and that's Michael Jordan. So we'll see if he's able to do that. So that's your Tuesday slate of games. So let's move on to Wednesday. Wednesday, the NBA and the NBPA, the Players Association, agreed to extend the CBA opt-out deadline to February 8th, 2023. So, the contract they have in place, they're now extending it till kind of the beginning of February. They're still working on a new agreement, so it'll be a lot of haggling, a lot of, give and take, so forth. Do I think they'll get a deal signed by this date? Probably so, if they work at it. So we'll see what happens. So they did extend it. It was to run out actually on this day, the Wednesday, but they announced that they're going to extend it. So that's the story with that. In other news, the BAL, the Basketball African League, is returning for a third season. They're playing overseas in Africa, obviously. The 12 top players from 12 African countries competing in 38 games. And the games are taking place in 3 countries: Senegal, Egypt, and Rwanda. So the NBA, with their reach far across the globe into Africa, so kudos there. In other news, Managing Director Grant Hill, the National Team Director Sean Ford, and Coach Steve Kerr is in the planning stages of choosing 12 players out of a pool of 40 players for the World Cup and for the Olympics. So they're in the process now. World Cup is next year, next summer, I believe, and then 2024 is the Olympics. So they're trying to get their ducks in a row and pick out the guys they need for the squad. So it'll be interesting to see who gets chosen, who gets left out. You know, that's always fodder for the talking heads. So we'll see. Okay, so let's talk about game action. A lot of games on Wednesday. Steph Curry scores 38 points with 7 rebounds, 7 assists, but injures his shoulder in the third quarter of a loss at Indiana, 125 to 119. So Steph Curry injuring his shoulder, kind of a new injury for him. So I give you a diagnosis once I get to that news. So for the Pacers, they were led by Therese Halliburton with 29 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks. So not good news for the Golden State Warriors, who are already teetering around 500 as was. So LaMelo Ball makes his return back to the court after missing a month, about 11 games, with that ankle sprain, as the Hornets lose at home to Detroit in overtime, 141 to 134. Boy, these games, man, it started to look like the Hades a bit with these scores, man. I mean, wow. That's crazy. And then also in the loss, Kelly Oubre's been playing great. 28 points, 8 rebounds, 3 steals. Oh, for LaMelo Ball, he had 23 points, 11 assists, and he made 5 threes in that game. So LaMelo Ball back. Team is reeling though, so we'll see how much of an impact he makes in that regard. Orlando Magic scores a team record 50 points in a quarter as they beat Atlanta 135 to 124. For Orlando, they had 8 players in double figures, with Franz Wagner leading the way with 24 points. Markelle Fultz, I tell you what, guys, he's back, he's healthy, and he's the quarterback of this team. So he got this team playing right, playing the way they should be. 16 points for him, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, 4 steals. Kid's playing great. He's playing great, managing the offense, running the offense. So kudos to the Orlando Magic. And then leading the Atlanta Hawks is DeAndre Hunter, who's back now. 25 points for him, 6 rebounds. So then we have the New York Knicks. Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson leads the Knicks to a road win in overtime over Chicago, 128 to 120. Randle in that game, 31 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists. And then Brunson, who's been a godsend for the Knicks, man. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine where they'd be without him. 30 points, 7 assists for him. And then also for the Bulls, DeMar DeRozan, 32 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 block shots for him. So Knicks are streaking now. They're playing defense. They're playing well. So so they're getting it together. That's for sure. Oh, and I forgot to mention in that Atlanta game, Clint Capela injures his calf, so we'll get a diagnosis for him shortly. So in any event, let's continue. In a game where Mike Brown got ejected, Domantas Sabonis puts up a 20-20 game. 21 points, 20 rebounds, along with 7 assists as Sacramento takes down Toronto on the road, 124-123. And this is going to be a common theme. Toronto hasn't been playing all that great, man. And for the most part, they're healthy, so I don't even understand what's going on there. And for the Raptors, Fred VanVleet, 39 points for him, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals. So, not sure what's happening there in Toronto, but it's kind of a cause for concern, I think. So, moving on, Tyler Hero, he drops 35 points with 9 threes in that game. Whoo, man. As Miami gets a road win over OKC 110-108. And then the loss. There's that man again, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 27 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. And that's the thing with him. Once we know the kid is talented. It's just a matter of his availability. And he's been available most of the young seasons, and he's playing well. All-star caliber basketball right now. So the win for Miami on the road. 37 points for Dame Lillard, along with 8 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals as Portland blows out the Spurs on the road, 128-112. And he has 7 threes in the game himself, Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard getting it in, boy. And for the Spurs, Keldon Johnson, of course, leading them 25 points. Donovan Mitchell, he's continuing his hot play. Scores 34 points, including 6 threes, as the Cleveland Cavaliers get a road win against Dallas 105-90. So Cleveland still, maintaining, trying to be amongst those top 6 in the Eastern Conference there. And then the lost Luka Doncic, 30 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds for him. Then you have the Joker. Oh, man. Joker had some week, man. He goes off here for 43 points, and that was on 17 of 20 shooting. Good gracious. Along with 14 rebounds, 8 assists, 5 steals, as Denver takes care of Washington, 141-128. Again, I'm talking about Washington being on the losing end. No KP in this game. Bradley Beal was back in this. Kyle Kuzma led the way, though, 24 points. And then Paul George, he has a triple-double, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists, as the LA Clippers beat Minnesota 99-88. And also in that game, the load-managed Kawhi Leonard, 19 points for him. Let me see if I can squeeze out another day, and then I'm going to probably put a pause on this. Thursday, NBA All-Star voting begins. It begins on, it announces it begins on the 20th of December, and then it ends January 21st of 2023, obviously. There's going to be 3 updates as far as who's leading the voting and so forth, and those will happen in January. The first 3 weeks of January, on a Thursday, those will happen. And then your starters will be revealed on the Thursday edition of TNT. They'll be revealed, I want to say, prior to the game. They usually do it in the pregame. And then your reserves the following week, February 2nd, you get the reserves. And then I know there's going to be also on the January 26th, you'll find out the two captains as well. And then, the two captains draft teams, and that'll be at a later date. I want to say it's the week of or the week before All-Star Weekend. So, yeah, we get close to the All-Star game, folks. That's where we at right now. Now in player news, Clint Capela of the Atlanta Hawks. Remember I told you he injured himself in the game, out for 1 to 2 weeks with that calf injury. So Clint Capela out. So Okongwu is a guy you probably want to, if you're in fantasy basketball like myself, you want to run to the waiver wire and pick him up. So Clint Capela, he's going to miss some time. This I found interesting. Terry, he's a point guard with the Memphis Grizzlies. He announced his retirement on Instagram, and he cites anxiety as the reason that he fallen out of love with the game. He was drafted in 2021, and he played 2 seasons. One for Dallas, and then he played for the Memphis Grizzlies. So, only averaged one. He only appeared in 13 games. Averaged 1 point, less than a half a rebound, and a half assist. Reason I cite this is because not everybody's built for the NBA. What I mean by that is, sure, you have the height, you have the, playing ability, so forth, but there comes a mental edge you have to have in order to play in the NBA. Not everybody has it. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. So I think he's young. I think he takes some time off the court, get himself right. Mental health, that's the big thing today. Mental health is important. So get his mental health right. And who knows, he can go overseas, kind of make a name for himself, come back. It'd be one of those comeback stories. But yeah, so, a lot of guys will say, oh, give me that money, I'll figure it out. It's not that easy, man. It's not that easy. They throw a bunch of money at you, and you're supposed to go out there and, perform, and you got all these hurdles in front of you. In Dallas, he had a bunch of guys in front of him, like Jalen Brunson. Well, I'm talking last year. Luka Doncic. Then they brought over Spencer Dinwiddie. So you talk about being buried on the depth chart. And then you go to Memphis, where you have a Ja Morant, and you also have Tyus Jones, who's one of the better backups in the league. So you're not really going to get to shine like that. I know Morant, his reckless plays, bound to miss some games or two, but still, it's a lot of pressure. So he retires. So I just thought I'd bring that up. So, all right, 3 games on the slate. We'll talk about that, and then we'll end there. Tyler Hero goes for 41 points with 10 3-pointers this time. Man. Along with 6 rebounds, as Miami gets another road win over Houston this time, 111-108. So Tyler Hero's lighting it up from deep. Memphis, speaking of Memphis, they crush the Milwaukee Bucks 142-101. And it was led by Ja Morant, who had a triple-double in this game. 25 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds. And I mean, this game was over before it started. Memphis was up 117-71 after 3 quarters. So, yeah, so they really put in the work. And mind you, this was a game with just about everybody. The only person that was missing was Drew Holiday. So, the fact that they were able to come out and pretty much embarrass Milwaukee, that's a statement win, I say. And then Jordan Clarkson, he goes crazy for 39 points on 7 threes, along with 8 rebounds, 2 steals, as the Utah Jazz wins over the New Orleans Pelicans in overtime, 132-129. And in that game, he also gets support from Lauri Markkanen. I've been talking about him all season long, how he's been playing. 31 points. He has 5 threes of his own, so. And then in the loss, Zion, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks. And then CJ McCollum, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks for him. So, all right, guys, so I'm going to cut it off there. When we get back on the other side, we'll talk about the passing of a former Knick. Also, we'll talk about another major injury that comes down the pike. Whole lot more, guys. A lot of things happening here, so we'll talk all about it. And I'll give you a brief preview of the Christmas Day slate. So, all that and more on the next episode, obviously, because I'm splitting it in two. So, anyhow, guys, I thank you for listening. Always appreciate it. And we'll talk soon. Take care. So, my peeps, if you like what you're listening to, you can go to my website, www.allthingsbasketballwithgd.com. You can also email me at thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. To support this podcast, you can go to my PayPal, and that email is thatsportsdudegd@gmail.com. Also on my Anchor page, I have a support button there that you can also use to help the podcast. I'm on all the major platforms like Anchor, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon, SoundCloud, YouTube, Castbox, Radio Public, Podchaser, just to name a few. And also you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Clubhouse, and Fanbase. So, once again, I thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. And take care and be safe.